see a sequel that compares or even comes close to the original. And I'm talking about movies here, right? And that holds true for a lot of movies that I love. I mean, I can even talk about Transformers. My favorite one, or the one I consider the best out of all of them, is the original, the first one, right? Transformers 1, pun intended. That to me, because they've had 5 live action Transformers movies since then. But the first one to me holds near and dear to me, because it is the best one ever. I say that for the first Matrix. I mean, none of them ever comes close to the original. I can say that for the first Lord of the Rings. I can say that for the first Iron Man franchise, because the original was, to me, still, especially when it comes to Marvel, outside of Blade, the first Iron Man movie to me is one of the best Marvel movies ever made. And obviously, Iron Man had sequels, but none of them compared to the original. So when we come to The Accountant sequel, because the original was just so good, Ben Affleck was so good. If you haven't watched the original Accountant movie, that's actually now become almost like a cult classic. And it kind of feels like he felt the pressure to make a sequel because of how good the original was. And if you watched, you know the story. Ben Affleck in this movie, he happens to be an individual who happens to have autism, but also happens to have hyper, what do you call it? Like this savant syndrome, where he's extremely intelligent, genius level intelligence, right? But you mesh that with his autism, and you have an individual, unfortunately, who, if you know anybody on the spectrum, they have a hard time dealing with certain things like social skills, communication, eye contact, all these things that individuals with those on that spectrum deal with. And you see that in the original movie. But at the same time, you see something else in that movie. You see him with a brother who happens to be John Bernthal, the Punisher. And they're polar opposites, but they have a dad who really, because he understands that his boys are going to have a tough time once they grow up. So he's trying to teach them how to be men. He ends up teaching them how to fight, how to defend themselves, how to, and then obviously you cut through the movie where they're adults and you find out that Ben Affleck's character, who as an adult is an actual accountant. Well, that's what he uses to hide his other stuff, because he's also an assassin for hire. So his day job is an assassin, but his pretend job is an accountant. He's really good at it. But anyway, so you see this play out in this movie, and in the first movie, we ended up falling in love because he played it to a T. I mean, people didn't really assume, like, even though he's a classically trained actor, he has an Oscar as a director and as an actor. I guess people didn't see him play these kinds of roles, and he played it so well where we loved it. And then having John Bernthal, this was before he was a Punisher, see him and seeing those two play alongside each other, that dynamic, the first movie, we didn't really get a lot of it. In the sequel, we got a whole lot of it. And when I tell you that this was well worth the wait, and again, that's one of those things where when you do a sequel, you can either elevate the status of that movie or absolutely destroy it. And we saw certain movies. I mean, Wonder Woman 1984, the original Wonder Woman, beloved. It created fans from everywhere. The sequel absolutely trashed it. Same applies to Shazam. The sequel doesn't even come close to the original. I mean, a lot of movies have tried. I remember the last Blade movie, Blade 3. It absolutely... People try to forget that movie. People consider the first 2 movies Blade. That last one was just utterly horrible. So anyway, so we've seen sequels really almost destroy a franchise, right? Let me tell you, The Accountant sequel, one of the best movies you will ever watch. I mean, it builds up from the original movie, and it's a longer movie. I think it's 2 hours and some change, maybe 2 hours, 30 minutes. But it was, I mean, you did not feel bored in that movie theater. because oh yeah, it had moments where it would kind of tip her off as far as action, right? Those sequences, but then it would absolutely get to a certain point. I mean, the last 45 minutes felt like we were in this war zone. It was outstanding, but at the same time, having this two play alongside each other, John Benthal, Ben Affleck characters, brothers, and seeing this dynamic play out in front of you, seeing them, basically try again. This is 8 years, right? This is 8 years since the original, and in the movie, it's been 8 years since they saw each other. So seeing them come back together and battle, and not necessarily battle, but try to reconcile, because again, you're dealing with a character who's Ben Affleck's character as an adult, who again has autism, incredibly smart, but has autism. So he has social cues, social anxiety. He has all these things that unfortunately people on that spectrum struggle with. And his brother, it's hard to see them when they come back together. You can tell his brother loves him, but it's been 8 years. And you can tell for Ben Affleck's character, it doesn't seem like it's a big deal. And it's not like he doesn't feel anything. It's just that's how he is wired. On the other hand, his brother, you can see him struggling with the idea of you don't miss me, don't. So this movie introduces you, I think, to their relationship, and we get to see their relationship grow and blossom and actually evolve, right? But at the same time, you get to see Ben Affleck's character grow. One of the critics, or one of the criticisms this movie was getting, especially when we got the trailers, people said Ben Affleck's character wasn't playing like his original character, like he was playing too normal, right? Too normal. And it's funny because when you work with people on the spectrum, especially if they're genuinely involved in real work, like people really trying to help them grow, strengthen certain attributes that we don't necessarily have help for. They come easy for us. They don't come easy for people on the spectrum. So some people need a lot of assistance, and you can tell his version, who's an adult. He's way older now. He's worked on himself, and as a matter of fact, in the movie, there's a scene in the movie where he's in a dating, almost like a speed dating thing, right? And you can tell how this is just, you can tell how he's struggling, right? He thinks he's saying all the right things. He's prepared himself. He thinks he's prepared himself, but he's bombing. And the ladies, when I tell you, they all beeline to him, because this is the way it was set up. Was the guys were sitting down, and the ladies were just scanning. The moment they see him, they beeline to this dude, thinking, "Man, I hit the jackpot." Well, until he opens his mouth and they realize, "Whoo, wow, okay, he's a robot." Like verbatim, he's just repeating the same thing over. And obviously he struggles and he bombs at this. Rightly so. And it was really, again, I've worked with people on the spectrum. I know how difficult it is, because we see certain things that come so easy to us, you don't even think about it. It's very, very difficult for people on the spectrum to recognize certain things, like in that moment. It might take them a minute, but it's very, very hard for them to recognize things in that moment because their brain is just not wired that way. And it was so good to see them explore. And this time we actually saw it way more. We got to, again, see the relationship of these two guys. We got to see a different version of the accountant, where he is not necessarily the assassin that we saw in the first one, where he was so methodical, he was so trigger happy. Here he is, and you can actually see him evolving also emotionally, where he actually now starts caring because he's hugging certain people. He's embracing certain things that we can tell he's grown into. So it's a fun movie. I'm not really going to give out a lot of spoilers, but I'm telling you, I was not disappointed. And my family, my brother actually, together with my sister and his girlfriend, they took me to see this movie. It's my birthday week, and I love this movie. We all loved it. We came out of this movie going, yes, this was an absolutely fun movie, and you can bring the whole family to watch this movie. Yes, it does have some violent scenes. I don't know what the rating is for this movie, but it's a really fun movie. You absolutely, and the theater was packed. It was really, really packed. So, fun movie. I'd give it a 4 out of 5. I really would. And I'm telling you, I don't know where they're going to go with this. I don't know if they can make a trilogy with this. I guess they're probably going to wait for the numbers. The numbers will be. This movie will be well received. It will be. It has the makings for one of those movies that surprises people numbers wise. They probably had a certain budget, and they're looking for a certain amount of return. I bet you they'll exceed it. And I don't know, maybe the pressure will come from us, to demand a trilogy, because this was really, really good. It really was. I love seeing John Benthal back for his role, for his character. I love the fact that he's still the Punisher. Still the Punisher. And I wish Ben Affleck was still Batfleck. But just, yeah, it's a really fun movie. It's a really good movie. Go watch it if you haven't seen it. Let me know in the comments if you have. What did you think about it? Did you like it? And I guess I'll hold out for a sequel, but I'll wait and see how well received it is before we start clamoring for a sequel. Anyway, I'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.